Good evening. It is Iron Carr. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. This evening's meditation was simply a way of letting you know how special you are, that you are loved by God in every way, that you are unique in this world. There is no one else who is like you. You have very unique talents, very unique abilities. There are things that only you can do, and only you can do well. And so it is worthwhile to recognize your own uniqueness and the fact that you are special in every way. It is true of everyone. Everyone is special in their own way. Everyone has unique talents and unique abilities. No, not one of you is the same across the face of the earth. Every person is slightly different in some way. You may resemble one another. You may resemble your sister or your brother, but you are still different. You still have different desires, different wishes, different talents. And so it is important that you recognize your own specialness, that you appreciate yourself, that you love yourself, because it is important to love yourself and to recognize the good person that you are, to recognize your own potential, to know that you are truly blessed in every way, that there are so many situations to which your unique energy can contribute. It is important to remember that, and important for you to find the situations in which you can serve others. For it is by serving others that you will find your greatest fulfillment in life. You will have the knowledge and wisdom that other people need. And when they hear it from you, they will be inspired, uplifted. You will guide them at those times, even if that is not your role in life on the material plane. You may have other work, you may do other things, but yet and still, each and every one of you, since you are manifestations of God in your own special way, can give advice, encouragement, help, love, and help other people in their own ways. And as you serve others, you experience great fulfillment in your life, and you find that you experience greater prosperity, remembering that prosperity is not only money, but it is the love of friends, the love of family members, having good work and self-fulfillment in your life, having happiness and enjoyment. These are the things that are yours on the physical world, and the joy of creation, where you create on the physical plane. And it is through you that God can create. And so recognizing your goodness, recognizing your uniqueness, be a special tool for God to create for God, creating the best, creating a world that is filled with happiness, love, prosperity, peace, and happiness. For you have the power, and only you can create those things upon the earth. And so take this opportunity in this incarnation to do the best creation that you can do. It has been my pleasure to be with you in this evening. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. And I will take any questions that you would like answered. You need only to unmute yourself and speak up. There is no special way in which we take people to the questions. It is first come, first served. And so please unmute yourself and ask me your questions.
Hi, this is Charlotte.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hi. I find it so difficult to let go of stuff. Right now, at this stage of my life, I'm going on 86 years old, living in this house for 53 years. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's just so difficult to start to get rid of stuff unless I have to. Like if I were told I had to move next month or next year and I had to, I probably would. But because there's no pressure on me, I just keep putting it off. And it really bothers me that there is so much I have to look into and let go of. And I just don't know how to start, how to begin, and what to do. I'm lost. I need some guidance.
Oh, well, I will give you a suggestion on where to start.
Yes.
Perhaps you have some old clothes that you could give away. Give them
Yes.
to the charitable organizations such as Goodwill or the Salvation Army. Almost every town has something that
To start out with clothing. Yeah, that would be possible. Yeah.
Yes, it
But
is a
there's so
small
much.
task.
It would be the tip of the iceberg, but it would be a start. Yeah.
Exactly. And you need to start with something simple. And
Right.
so I would recommend, such as I have said, the old
Mhm.
clothes.
Right.
There will probably be people that would even enjoy them as old
Mhm.
clothes.
Right.
Perhaps they are old enough to be fashionable from another time. And
Right.
people will enjoy that. Buy them as costumes, perhaps.
Mhm.
There are so many good uses, and it will be less strenuous for you, so
Right.
that you can look in your closet, find something you have not worn for ages and ages, and take it out, fold it up neatly, put it in a plastic bag or a box,
Mhm.
and continue to do that until your bag or your box is full. And then you can say, put it in your car, and you will take it the next time you go driving, and you will put it and give it away to those people who could use it and make money off of it.
Right. Okay, that is a good suggestion. And then I'll start with other stuff like I'm overwhelmed with paperwork and I'm having trouble keeping up with my finances, and it's just so painful.
Yes, well, that is a different type of a problem. But to
Mhm.
get rid of things, starting with your clothes will be
Okay,
easier.
that I will do. And then go
And
on
how
and
to
maybe
solve
ask.
your other problem, I do not know. Perhaps you have a friend or a younger person you could invite to help you with those things.
Mhm. Right.
If you have a family member who lives near, who might be competent and be willing to help you, perhaps that would work.
I'll give that some thought. Okay. Thank you for your advice.
You
Thank
are
you.
most welcome. And thank you for your question, for it
Mhm.
always takes a first person in order for others to speak up.
Right.
Are there any other questions?
Rankar, hi, this is Soham.
Soham,
Hi.
how nice to hear from you again.
Yes, yeah, long time. I call in after a long time. Yes. Yeah. Rankar, I guess recently I've been thinking a lot about, what is the meaning of freedom? I guess more, I've been thinking a lot about, what does freedom mean? And I deep down inside, I I know the only freedom is to know oneself, and not be dependent on anything outside. Maybe can you say some words on freedom and what freedom is?
Well, thank you. I will be pleased to speak on freedom, for it is a very important consideration. And so freedom is the ability to take care of yourself. to take the actions that you need to take in your own best behalf. That is what is true freedom. And by taking these actions, you contribute to the well-being of others because you are being responsible for yourself. Now, most people simply think of freedom as being able to do whatever you wish. But freedom comes with responsibility. It incurs the responsibility to take care of yourself, but also to take care of the environment around you. And when I speak of environment, I am not speaking just of the environment as sometimes is referred to in your politics. I am not thinking of global warming, that you are responsible to try to stop global warming, but that you keep your environment healthy and well for yourself. Now, this incurs good behaviors. It incurs being aware of the needs of other people, that you do not waste resources that other people could use if you left them alone, that you do not overtax your environment by insisting on making changes in it, so that you are thoughtful about how you use your environment, that you keep it clean. And so the most important part of freedom is the responsibility you have for yourself and for others. No, you are not responsible to make other people behave in certain ways. You are simply responsible to leave the environment and the world around you in such a way that it can be used by others, so that you do not over-contaminate your environment with excess noise, garbage, things that really do not serve you or others. And I'm sure you can understand that if you give it a little thought on how to be responsible about the environment for yourself and for others. And of course, being responsible for yourself, it also includes your contribution that you make to society. For everyone in society contributes to the welfare of the whole. And so this is also part of being free. Free to do what is best for everyone, to contribute for that welfare of the whole. That you perform your work, whatever it happens to be, whether it is you as an engineer, or you as a salesperson, or you as a scientist, or you as a doctor, or you as a nurse, or you as a teacher, or you as whatever profession you desire to pursue. That in this way, through your actions, you contribute to the welfare of all of society. And you, by doing so, also earn yourself the money that you need to buy the things that you need that allow you to interact within the economy, to give gifts to others, to be loving in the ways that you wish to be loving, and to love the people that you wish to love. These are all the elements of freedom, but each and every one of them incurs the responsibility for yourself and for others at the same time. It is sometimes said that my freedom begins with me and ends with you. In other words, I cannot triple over you, for I must allow you freedom. And I must allow you your freedom to do. And so we work together, hand in hand, each giving one another the tools that are necessary to create a good life, sharing where necessary, and basically creating a good life for ourselves and allowing others to create good lives for themselves. It is a share situation as well as a responsible one. I hope that has given you some help in your understanding of freedom. Or I think it is very important for people to recognize that freedom truly comes with responsibility. Well, that is what balances freedom and allows you to be free. I hope that has been helpful. Do you have a further question?
That was helpful. Thank you.
I am not hearing the person who is speaking. If you could speak up, please.
Okay. Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Are there any other questions?
Hi, Ronka.
Yes.
It just looks like the whole world has completely gone insane. That's
Excuse me?
like, it looks like the whole world has gone insane. Like it's completely just head over heels, just keeps going and it keeps gaining momentum and getting worse. Can we look forward to some stability coming sometime soon?
It is a difficult time. And you need to, in order to create the stability that you are asking for, each person must take the responsibility for creating stability, peace, and harmony in their lives. Right now on your world, there is constant fighting, not necessarily in the sense of warfare, but in the sense of children who bicker among themselves and fuss over the rules and decide who is correct and who is wrong and what's right and what's wrong. They do not look to themselves to create peace and harmony. They look to dominate others. This is a realization that unfortunately is not made by those people who have access to your media, are able to speak out over the radio, over the television, through the newspapers. These people, each and every one of them in their way, is contributing to this disharmony that you have spoken of. Each one should remember the previous question about freedom, that it engenders responsibility. And most of the people are simply fighting and bickering over the meaning of words, what other people should do, how other people should behave, without being responsible for their own actions, without realizing that their words do not help to bring peace or harmony, that they bring forth disharmony and unhappiness among more people, that these people are creating unhappiness in every day, and they are not being responsible. And it does not matter if you are, which side of the political spectrum you are on. Each side is arguing with the other constantly. Now, I do not know how this will be resolved. I cannot say to you that there will be peace, that this will eventually ameliorate itself and allow people to experience peace and harmony. And I suspect the only way that you will be able to make changes is by taking actions to make change yourself. In your country, you have the process of voting. But with today's state of affairs between the various political parties, it does not matter who you are voting for. You are sure to cause more disharmony by whatever is happening. It does not matter who wins. It will only bring about disharmony. So the only way that this will resolve itself is when someone decides to speak up, perhaps you or someone else, and say that it is time we be responsible for ourselves, that we need to take care of our own lives and our own well-being, and we need to create peace and harmony within our lives, that we need to love one another. We need to love our family members. We need to help our friends, or we need to love our friends. We need to form happy, loving relationships with one another so that we can continue to experience peace and harmony in our lives. That if we keep going the way that we are going, there is sure to only continue to be disharmony, or either side or both sides do not have the solution, and they are not working together to find a solution. They just continue to fight. And so I do not know how to help you. I cannot say that this will ease up for you, that the difficulties will pass. It is only when the ordinary people begin to come together in whatever way that is possible to bring about peace and harmony. I would ask you to think back to the days of the gentleman of Martin Luther King. And he decided that he would fight in a different way by simply walking and praying and singing and making the presence known that they wanted, and he wanted his people to have all the rights and all the abilities that every other person had in the land. And there was Mahatma Gandhi, who also, again, in a peaceful way, decided, well, through his own starvation of himself, he set an example of peacefulness. He did not fight, but he merely said, I will not eat until we come to recognition that there are people who deserve to live better lives, who deserve to be counted, who deserve to have the opportunity to be responsible for themselves, to bring about their own prosperity, not to be the servants and slaves of others. It is these thoughts which need to be brought to the fore within your societies again, in order that you create a greater sense of peace and harmony. Of course, I would recommend that you fire many of your politicians that create disharmony. The leaders of both political parties need to be fired so that you can have people perhaps who are more reasonable, less worried about the success of their party, and look to the greatness, to the help, to the prosperity of all the people on the face of the earth, but especially all the people within your own country, for that is where their level of responsibility lies. By the very fact they have chosen to play these roles, and they do not play these roles well. They do not foster peace and harmony. They do not bring about accord between right and left. They bring only disharmony and yelling at one another. And so I cannot help you. I cannot give you that which you seek, the assurance that all will resolve itself well. For there is too much yelling and screaming and bad behavior all over the place. And so it is up to you as individuals, your individual actions, when they are grouped together across the face of the earth, can make a difference. Or if it's just in your country, it will make a difference to your country. And so this is what I recommend. Within your own life, cultivate peace and harmony, goodness, prosperity as best you can, help others, serve others. And this will bring about, if others join you, and more people join, it'll be like the ripples that flow out across a pond when a pebble or a rock is thrown in. They will spread, it will grow, and hopefully it will be successful. I know it will be successful in creating peace and harmony again. But it's going to take people who are willing to demand better behavior from their leaders. Are there other questions?
Yes, I just have a comment or a question about the 1960s and all the peace movement, the movements for change, getting out of Vietnam, trying to get bad politicians out. It all just got co-opted into the status quo. So even though that seemed to be in a large part a grassroots movement, in the long run, it did not seem to really bring about the kind of peaceful change that we need today also.
One moment, please. I wish to consider. As to the peace movement in the 60s, this was propagated by many young people of that time who are quite old today. And it was their desire to have peace. Now, their ideas of what peace and harmony and love meant were quite childish in nature, for they were very young. They did not know or understand that which would bring about the greatest good for people, and did not think of it that way. They thought of it as hugs and kisses and being free to do whatever they wish to do, to take narcotics or drugs to bring about unusual experiences in their minds, and they thought this was enlightening. And I'm sure that some came to some enlightened thoughts at these times, but as with all things that in which people are searching outside of themselves instead of working inside of themselves. It did not create a peace that lasted very long. Now, it did last. It had an effect. It ended the war. Did not end the war in many ways. It just simply brought your soldiers home. But at the war, there still continued to be problems within the country that there was fighting. They did not resolve those. Eventually, those resolved themselves after enough people were hurt, injured, killed, mutilated, tortured. It did not bring about peace and harmony in those areas because as children, they just took the actions that brought them happiness. They were thinking that this was good. If it brings me happiness, it is good. And eventually, they each took responsibility for themselves and their families because they had families, and they began to have responsibilities of taking care of families. And so they grew into what other people have been before them. And this is frequently what happens. For a generation learns, but that generation ceases to be in power, so to speak. And I know that some of your politicians were well within those generations. However, they have become corrupted by the desire for power and have forgotten totally about peace and harmony. So it may seem to you that the peace movement of the 60s was useless. And it may be true, but it was a learning experience for those who were involved. If they were not successful and thought about it, they would realize the reason is because peace begins with the person, with self, begins at home. Love begins at home. Love begins with individuals. You cannot make a movement of it. It must be all done by individuals who just happen to create or come together. And as for peace not being lasting, there was a period after the war, after World War II, when all the countries in the war across Europe needed to rebuild their countries, needed to rebuild their cities, which had been destroyed by war. They had no time for more war. They did not want war. They were working to create just a living space. It was only what comes after, when people get comfortable. And as you would say, in the 60s, the peace movement. But again, it was children. They were children back then. They did not understand that it was through good work and hard work that peace and prosperity finally came to the land. And while it wasn't perfect, it was what it was. And their children forget about it, and their grandchildren forget about it because they did not experience it. War for them is but a history book, a statement that these countries fought together. They did not see the devastation that happened to their towns and their cities. They did not feel the deaths of family members, friends, relatives, the brothers who fought in the war, and all the civilians who were killed by the war. None of that was kept in people's mind because the people who experienced it became too old, and most of them have died. and transitioned and can experience peace in fulfillment in their new state of being. But it is simply a lesson. Man needs to learn its lessons every couple of generations, or by the third generation, that lesson which has been won, which has been learned by the first generation, is already forgotten. And the same mistakes are being made again. Because as much as history books try to tell you and what has happened, the emotional experience of war cannot be conveyed. And so we find in all countries, while there are just enough of them who are seeking to dominate others and come to power, there are people who want to dominate others and come to power. There are people who think they know it all, but have only experienced a quarter of what it needs, what they need to know. And so they are lacking in knowledge and understanding. So it is just the way. It is the way that life has been on the planet Earth for so many years. We incarnate, and sometimes we are good, and sometimes we succeed. But once again, I emphasize that it is your responsibility as individuals to create the greatest amount of peace and harmony in your life, prosperity in your life, love in your life, for this is what will save the earth. Are there other questions? If there are no more questions, we will be ending the evening. So I ask again, are there any more questions? Then we have clearly reached the end of the evening. And so I give you all my blessings. I will say good night, and Juana will come back. I give you my blessings. Good night. Hi, I'm back. Okay, is there anything else? You can always ask me a question.
Hi, Juana.
Hi. Okay, nobody has a question for me. So I'm just going to say good night too. Remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.